Welcome back to our final morning under the Twin Spires, as it is the last day of breakfast at the Kentucky Derby, and journalism has been the star of the show. Will his star continue to shine into that first Saturday in May? And sovereignty has been the other star, schooling the other day in the paddock. Your winner of the Fountain of Youth will discuss his recent works and preparations for the Run for the Roses. And the feel-good story of the entire season, Coal Battle. On track yesterday, we'll get an update from the Lonnie Briley barn as we begin the show. And two of the all-time greats, D. Wayne Lucas, he of 4 Derby victories, and Bob Baffert, he of 6. They joined up to watch the 96 Kentucky Derby. We'll show you those two sitting in the office and spinning some yarns about derbies of yesteryear. Saddle up, we're ready to go on breakfast at the Kentucky Derby. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Breakfast at the Kentucky Derby. One final time as it is Thurby. Hooray, hooray. It's the 1st of May. Mike Joyce, Joe Talamo, Simon Bray, and the countdown is on. Kentucky Derby number 151 is right around the corner.
Yeah, only 2 more days to go.
Yep.
Everybody has all their works in. I think from here on out, probably just jogging, galloping. Again, we spoke about that earlier, just bubble wrap time for Oaks and Derby horses.
Yeah, I mean, the big question is going to be Baeza. We're going to get to that in just a little bit, and we get to sleep in tomorrow. That's the best news.
I know, it's not usually the longest day of the year is the one you get to sleep in on, but that's what these shows have done to us. They brought us here bright and early in the morning, and we thank you for joining us bright and early in the morning as well. The wagering is open as we take a look at odds for the Kentucky Derby, not morning line. These are the live odds as things are going right now. Journalism floating up to 4-1. And any surprises at this point, I think Render Judgment getting bet all the way down to 12-1 is a little, and this isn't a small amount of money in this pool right now.
No, I think there's about $500,000 in the pool right now. The Render Judgment factor, I think, you know, on form, he should be a lot bigger than the 12-1. Obviously, there's an attachment there with the story, $634,000 in the pool with the late Toby Keith. His family owned part of that horse, and that's a story that's been played out in mainstream media. So a lot of people will gravitate to that for the feel-good story.
So it is a sizable market, but nowhere near the size of the actual win pool. Last year, it was $72.5 million just for the win wagers. But that's the kind of wagering event the Kentucky Derby is.
Yeah, I mean, this is going to change. Don't forget, you know, Mattress Mac, many people know, of Furniture Gallery in Houston. He'll come in and, you know, he'll make a bet 3 times the size of the current pool, and that can change the odds. So, no, it's for real. He will.
Yeah, Mattress Mac, Todd Trupp, Dave Weaver, they've all yet to jump in. Louisville, Kentucky weather right now, Joe. It's a cool 70, partly cloudy. It looks nice.
It actually feels really good. I'm sad I didn't bring a polo shirt, and I'm wearing this jacket. It's a little too warm, but it feels
Did you bring your scarf?
No, I did not, Michael.
Okay.
I do have some gloves that I left in my bag if you want to try and fit them on.
Here's the forecast. We have rain predicted for each of the next 3 days, today, tomorrow, and Saturday. Now, it's about 50%. No guarantee that it rains, no guarantee that it doesn't. But, Joe, as you know, the weather can rear its ugly head and make its effect felt on these big days.
Yeah, Mike, I kind of feel like we've seen this all week, honestly. A couple days ago, I went to my son's baseball game. It was 80% chance of rain, and it didn't rain. Everybody thought it was going to get canceled. So that's Louisville, Kentucky for you.
And don't forget, when they put 50% chance of Friday, it could be Friday at 1 in the morning, where it won't affect the races or the track condition.
Let's take a look at our team for the final day of the Breakfast at the Kentucky Derby shows. We have Andy Biancone as always. Kate and Brada are back for the last episode. But we start today with Scott Hazelton. Actually, we're not going to start with Scott Hazelton. I lied. Scott, you hold still. Andy, we're going to start with you.
Michael, it almost feels like the calm before the storm on the backside. As you guys mentioned, schooling is done. final preps are done. Everybody is just bubble wrapping, keeping horses fresh and happy up until the big day. But we start with Journalism, our favorite. I no doubt think this is the classiest horse of the entire field, but he has just really blown me away this entire week. Yesterday, we actually saw him gallop a mile and a half because Michael McCarthy was expecting the track to be bad today, so he might gallop a mile and a half again. He might gallop a mile and a quarter, kind of just going to feel it out as he steps onto the racetrack. But just a nice, easy day, going to back up to the wire, do his normal, usual gallop, and all systems a go, Caden.
Well, Andy, if Journalism is the star of the show, Sovereignty is out to prove that he's no supporting actor. He made his presence known yesterday in a schooling session in the afternoon and looked spectacular. I chatted with Kenny McCarthy, a longtime assistant for Bill Mott here based in Louisville, and he mentioned how good he was, how professional he is, and how well he's doing. He said he wished the race could be run today, and I think that's the sentiment of trainer Bill Mott as well as anyone with a Derby or Oaks horse, particularly with the weather in mind, but just in general. Sovereignty seeming to flourish. He's expected to go to the track at the designated Derby training time, 7:15. It's business as usual, rinse, lather, repeat, with one exception. The only difference today from any other day that we've been here so far is the addition of a fence that's been set up it's just a small barrier around the area that surrounds the stall, just to make sure that nobody gets too close to the star, who is on the walking ring right now, going right past us, as if on cue as he prepares for his biggest test. Let's check in with Scott Hazelton.
Caton, we're camped out here at the Lonnie Briley barn, and Cole Battle has actually already gone out to the race course. He was out on the race course for a jog prior to 7 a.m., so they opted to go out early versus waiting for the Derby window of training, Derby and Oaks window of training. So we're going to get an update from trainer Lonnie Briley as to why they opted to go in that direction and come out early. And also, Michael, we're going to check in with John Shirreffs as he continues to remain on the bubble as we are less than 26 hours away from scratch time, so really getting down to crunch time as to whether Baeza will draw into Derby 151.
Yeah, within 26 hours of scratch time, that is very important, because if you're Baeza and you're on the outside looking in, very anxious moments, and you don't wish ill will. You don't want anyone to have to scratch out of the Kentucky Derby, but they've been preparing as if they're going to run, Joe.
Yeah, and I was actually in the same situation last year. I was in the number 21 hole on Mugatu, and again, he was a big long shot, but it's that weird spot. You really want to compete and run in the Kentucky Derby, but you don't wish any ill will on anyone else. So it is kind of a weird, kind of a holding pattern.
Yeah, I mean, so we'll know tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock. For Flavien Prat, the assumption is if Baeza gets in, he's going to get off Neo course, right?
Neo Equus, yeah.
Neo Equus, thank you. And then go to Baeza. So we'll see. And then for John Shirreffs, I mean, if it doesn't happen at 9:01 tomorrow, he's going to start planning on training for the Preakness. Track is closed here Sunday, so
on to Baltimore for him. Caton?
Bill, I was just remarking how good Sovereignty looks, how he continues to look the same, if not better, every single day, and how I imagine you might wish the race could be run today.
Yeah, well, it gets a little hectic waiting. You know what I mean? When they're doing well, you'd like to get it over with. But he's been doing well. We've been waiting and waiting and waiting. We're down to 2 days now, so we just cross our fingers and do our best to keep him safe and hope he stays good for 2 more days.
Describe what he'll do today on the track and also what you'll be looking for.
Well, very similar. He'll go through a similar routine, what he does every day. I mean, we'll jog back, we'll walk him through the paddock, give him a turn in there, and then come out, and he'll gallop like 1 3/8 or 1.5 miles, and probably, start his gallop out easy, but I like to see him finish up and, let him open their stride just a little bit at the end of the gallop, just to do a little bit more, and it keeps him a little bit more content to let him go on a little bit at the end of his gallop. He levels off very nicely and kind of, uses up some of that pent-up energy.
Bill, when I walk through the barn, some of the people here with you have been with you for years and years. How much more special is it to have the team you have and a horse like this?
Well, I think I'm so lucky to have the staff that I've got, and you're absolutely correct. Some of these, people have been with me over 20 years. Kenny's been with me, I think, 20 years, and And my assistants and the grooms and the hot walkers have been, a lot of them have been long time, well, 10 or 15 years. So, they all know the routine. I think they all take a lot of pride in the fact that maybe we, have an opportunity to win the Derby, and they get to work around such a good horse. And I appreciate it. I mean, I think it's a reward that you get after years and years of, trying to do this. And when you get we don't realize sometimes how special it is to have a horse like this, because they raise $20,000 a year, and you're one of the few that can make it into the gate on Derby Day.
It's a special ride indeed, even to watch him since Florida all the way here, and we're looking forward to the rest of the way.
Okay, thank you.
Bill Mott about to watch his horse go back out with just about 48 hours to go for the big dance. And guys, we talk about the crew that has been with him for so long, but it's interesting because Bill's not adverse to giving some new people a shot if they earn it. Case in point, there's a young 19-year-old rider, Rachel Kingsley, who is a multi-generational horsewoman who's been galloping horses for him for quite some time. She actually rode her first professional race in the United States at Gulfstream Park, broke her maiden on a Bill Mott trained horse at Gulfstream just a few weeks ago, and she's going to have a chance to ride a first-time starter for Bill in the second race on Kentucky Oaks Day. Could be the start of something big. The same could be said with Sovereignty.
Great story. He did it when I worked for him. We had an assistant called Tim Jones. His stepson Ramon Perez was a young 18-year-old. Bill gave him his first mount and sent him on his way. He was actually, I think he was Eclipse Award-winning apprentice or down at least as one of the nominees. So, yeah, I mean, he'll give everybody a shot. And, I mean, going to work for him is like basically going to the Harvard of equine knowledge. I mean, you just learn so much.
If you don't say so yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Let's take a look at Sovereignty, and he has been brilliant all week long. I mean, he's shown himself to be a different animal working, Simon, now than he was at the beginning of the year.
Yeah, I mean, look, the good horses have shown their hand this week. Sometimes that isn't always the case, but they've looked good in their workouts. They've looked good in their training in between, and this is him on the outside. And as we touched earlier in the week, you got to know your horse. He was training earlier this year with a maiden called Chillax. That horse that he was out working down in South Florida is actually running, I believe, today or on Derby Day maybe in a maiden race, so pay attention to that. But I thought he's looked outstanding, and he's just got better and better and better at the right time. He's not a horse that maybe peaked in February, March, and you're like, I hope he holds his form till Derby Day. No, he's a horse that's actually, the curve is on the way up and it's peaking right at the right time.
Yeah, and he's made a good look of himself every time. This was from Sunday, of course. Right now, let's check in with Scott Hazelton. He's been at the Lonnie Briley barn getting all the updates on Coal Battle.
Yeah, Michael has mentioned Coal Battle already went out for his jog this morning versus going out during the Derby training window. Lonnie, why go out early?
Well, I kind of wanted to go out early and watch him, and then I wanted to go to the paddock, I guess before it got too busy with all the paparazzi. But yeah, in all honesty, I didn't even put the yellow towel on him. I put a regular towel on him, and because I need him to relax right now, and I don't want him getting on the muscle too much and stuff like that, and because he's very quiet, but if you give him attention, well, then that's what he wants. He's gonna give it back to you. So I wanted to go with him early, and he went very well. He jogged real good and went to the paddock, was very good, and see what happens. He'll go back to the track tomorrow and gallop, and then Saturday's D-Day, so we'll see.
Will you take him out early tomorrow, or you wait for the 7:15 window?
Wait till 7:15 till all the other horses go, Yeah. And
is the attention wearing on you?
Yes, sir. I mean, there's a lot, but for an old country boy, but I mean, it's all good, and people just very nice and everything, and I guess I worry about the walk up and stuff, the horsemanship, so many people walking up and the horses, and I'm sure they'll have some washing out and getting on the muscle and stuff, you know. And then in the paddock, that's got to be a case in its own, you know, with so many people. And then saddling them up and without them getting too hot and stuff, you know, and then getting in the post-parade, you know, and stuff. So I think it's a lot on a horse, you know, and, you know, I'm sure it's going to be an hour and 15 minutes by the time we get to the post, you know, and so all that's in your mind, you know, all the time. And but everybody got to do it, you know. It's you know, so we'll see.
It certainly is part of the challenge, and
yeah.
There's no way for preparing for it, right? I mean, that's another aspect of it. You can't recreate that moment.
No, because at first they wanted us to go to the 8-pole, and I said, oh no. I said, you turn them horses around at 8-pole, they're gonna be dragging you, you know, and that's when they, you know, you turn them around to run, and I think they had a meeting and a discussion to change that, and yeah, it's all good, you know, but you just take one step at a time.
When you say they wanted them to go to the 8th pole, are you talking about before the race? What are you talking about?
Like when all the people following the horses, they go in the paddock, and then you go to the 8th pole and turn around till they all in there, and I don't know. And so, you know, a lot of the trainers said, no, that's too much, you know. Then if a horse would get loose, it'd be a wreck, because if one get loose, another one's going to get loose, you know. And you can say what you want, a 200-pound man versus a 1,100-pound racehorse, you know, he's going to win. So the meeting was good, you know, and I think they said they was going to work on that to revise that part, you know. So I don't know what they decided. They talked about putting each group of people on each horse, like on the side of the fence with a little sign, and when that horse passes, then follow in, you know. So I don't know how they're going to do it, you know, so, you know, we'll see.
Well, we appreciate the time this morning. You go relax. Go hide in that tack room if you need to, Lonnie.
Thank you very much. Have a good day.
One of the best interviews we've ever had on this network right there. Great work from Scott Hazelton. And Lonnie Briley, boy, he let a lot of information out there, and he really gave you at home and us an idea of the pressure, the difference between this race and every other race.
What about the difference between when we interviewed him on Tuesday compared to this one? You can see it. And I look at that and I see me 25 years ago. I was a lot younger, of course, but he's going through exactly what I went through. I mean, the training was great, but I was so nervous about the walkover. I mean, I can sit here, he can sit here and describe. I mean, over this balcony here, the horses have to, you know, on a regular day, they come out of the barn. It takes them 40 minutes to go from the barn to the paddock to saddle on a normal race. He mentioned it's hour and 15 minutes. They have to circle here on the backside for 20 minutes. And in the sea of people, there's going to be 20, 30,000 people below us here. And as you go by, there will be a fan for every single horse, and they're screaming at you. Like, I mean, like a rock star. They're screaming. The horses get very, very hot. So what he's talking about is, they walk behind us. You can see this over my shoulder here. They'll walk around this curve and make a left into the paddock right there. But what they wanted to do was walk further down the track, another 220 yards down the track, let all the people go in the paddock, then turn the horses around. And I think they've changed that, which is a great idea, because the longer those horses are on the track, the element of risk, you know, there's something could happen.
And it's interesting how he took the horse earlier this morning, Joe, as he wanted to just kind of get away from that hour. Didn't use the saddle. I didn't even know if you're allowed to not use the saddle towel, but take the horse to the paddock. You could see Lonnie Briley really wants to get this horse into some familiar routines instead of all the pomp and circumstance of Derby.
And I think that's what we've talked about all week, how certain trainers are training them specifically, not like all of their horses in the stable. And again, Cold Battle to me is probably a horse he wants to keep him quiet. That way he's going to bring him out early before the sun comes up. He's not going to see the crowd, whereas if he would bring him during that 7:15 hour with hundreds and hundreds of people, he might get a little too keen, might get a little washed, he might gallop a little too quick. So I'm sure all of that, and you could tell in that interview, all of that's probably going through his mind early in the morning. So he's probably just like, let's just get him out and going.
I mean, he's wound tight in the clock. That's how he really is.
Let's take a look at journalism. He's out on the track right now as the Kentucky Derby favorite. Hasn't turned a hair all week long. As you said, so far he's been bomb-proof, and that's the metaphor there for you, those of you at home who don't know, if a bomb were to go off, he still wouldn't spook because he's just so within himself mentally. Andy, he still looks like $1 million. Might be looking like, I don't know, $4 million come Saturday.
Michael, absolutely. Couldn't agree with you more there, but it's really funny to see horses' personalities really come out, whether they're racing or even just walking to the track. As you know, journalism, a very tough, gritty customer. We saw him come back, dig deep within him at the Santa Anita Derby and really just push through. And we saw a little bit of that attitude come out this morning as we were walking to the track. There was a huge group of people. He kind of balked at them, and then he kind of had his mind set on not moving forward as everyone was like, come on, let's go, buddy. And he was like, oh, you want to make me go somewhere? You want to make me do something? I'm standing right here. So, like, seeing that attitude come out is just fascinating because we know he's confident. We know he's not doing anything to be bad or to be spooky, but he just has that attitude about him, and that's exactly what you want in a good horse. You want them to have a little bit of that screw you attitude.
And that's what he has. That's a great description. By the way, I think Andy's been at her best all week. This is her in her element. Especially with the barnstorming. But journalism is just, he is the picture of class.
It's almost like he's got just swagger to him.
Yeah.
Whether he's jogging, galloping, working, I mean, look at him. He's just flipping his ears back and forth. And what I like, and again, we've spoke about this all week, his demeanor, I truly just can't get over. Because, again, even though it's early, I mean, there's so many people out here. They're not screaming or anything, but, you know, especially back in California, I don't think he's used to this in the morning time.
No.
You know what I mean? So for him to act like look at him, Simon. He's not even turning a hair, just so complacent.
I mean, he stands there, he jogs perfectly, he's listening to the command. The pony boy is not hooked up to him. There's no fear of him, like, doing anything silly.
Saying hi to Grande there, kind of lopes by him.
I mean, he's just, look at that.
Saying, Grande,
he could stand there for 30 minutes.
Yeah.
He's saying, hey, Grande, get a good look at my rear end. That's what you'll be seeing from the quarter pole home. He's just a majestic animal there.
And I feel like, too, of all the interviews, like Bill Mott, you could just tell he's so happy and comfortable. I think Sovereignty's doing so good. And I think with Michael McCarthy, too, we've seen so many interviews with him. That's what makes me feel like this horse is doing well, too. You could just see the sense of ease in his interviews, how happy he is, that he knows journalism could not be going into this race any better.
And I'll tell you, Michael McCarthy is all business when he's at the track.
Oh, yes.
And we've seen a little bit of that curtain lifted up. We've seen a little bit of levity, a little bit, which is atypical, but I think it's atypical in a good way for Michael.
That's what I'm saying. You could just tell. I don't think journalism could be doing any better. And again, we've showed him with his work, gallop, jog. I mean, truly hitting on all cylinders right now.
Yeah, so he's down at the wire. He's behind us. He's going to come galloping by, and we know what he's going to. So look at this from a trainer standpoint. He stood to point him the right way, walking down the racetrack like he's going to exercise, and he doesn't just bolt off.
Yeah.
He walks, he jogs into a gate, and then he's going to make the transition into a gallop or a canter. So, I mean, he's just an absolute pro. I mean, a lot of horses, once they turn,
they want
to turn and burn,
take
Joe.
Off. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Look at his neck bowed like that too. Oh, that's so pretty.
Simon, look at that.
Just right into his gallop and that sets the tempo. I've always talked about the transition into a work, and that sets the tempo for gallop. So what he's going to do, he's probably going to gallop a lap and a half, almost a mile and a half. That's a horse coming up on the inside of him, make him just get a little bit aggressive. But
so Simon, you said after the Santa Anita Derby, he could be any kind of horse.
Yeah.
You thought, I mean, as good of a Triple Crown prospect as we've seen in recent years. When was the last time you saw a horse that was that dominant on the racetrack that made you think that, and then comes into the Derby working like this?
American Pharoah.
That's
yeah. I didn't even have to think about it.
I mean, you've made that comparison before,
yeah,
and you're still going to keep making it.
Yeah, I mean, look, they're not the same type of horse, but I mean, American Pharoah to me it's one of the best moving biomechanically great horses I've ever seen. The way he moved. This horse has got a kind of a little different action, but I mean, he's just so fluid. And look, I mean, he does everything that his rider wants. I mean, just no faults.
He has a ton of energy right now, too. When he passed us on the first turn here, you notice that horse to the inside. His exercise rider actually pointing him out only about 3 pads off the outside rail, just so he didn't hook up with him. Because you could tell he is so on tilt, ready to go in a good way. If he would have stayed next to that other horse galloping, that's a faster to where they probably could have hooked up and had a really quick open gallop. So again, this is exactly what you want to see after a workout and leading up to the Derby, just absolutely full of himself.
And from a trainer's point, watching from the stands, Mike, there's no excuse for an exercise rider to get caught in traffic. They close the track.
Right.
There's 16 horses out on a mile racetrack. Don't be getting hooked up in traffic. There's no excuse for it.
How important are these gallops? I know the first gallop back after work is important, but now these routine maintenance gallops throughout the week, how important are these, Simon? And is it just like before? You're not looking for anything to go right. You're just hoping nothing goes amiss.
Right, and because you're not going at the pace of a work, it can be a little difficult. Kind of Joe touched, they're just trying to get a lead change. He needs his head a little more. They don't want to, that's not a fault. He's got a tight hold on him. You've got to give the horse his head to the ability to switch leads, get that right lead over, but you don't want to give him enough to where he jumps in the bridle and does too much. But to Joe's point, galloping horses is a little tougher than working sometimes, because when you're working, you're going a little quicker, you can drop the head. You can't go too fast, can't go too slow, but these horses are full of energy, and you're trying to keep an 1,100-pound animal in like third gear, right, Joe?
Yeah, no, and that's why an exercise rider's job is very, very important, because again, I would say the difference between like a Burnham Square and journalism. Burnham Square, it's all about just getting him not to take off with that head bowed. That we watched a video earlier on him. You just have to set your hands back and get his head down and go. Journalism, kind of the same thing, but different action. You keep your hands back, but his head is a little bit higher, but at the same cadence for both horses.
And there he is, just the star of the show, and there's no question about it.
Watch him pull up. I guarantee he's like, we saw the start, and I'm all about that. When I was training, obviously some horses can't, they're not robots. They can't all be like that, but I would like them to stand, walk off into their exercise, then jog, and then gallop. And the same gearing down. You want to go down into that slower gait and just let them trot out. And this is different than what Bill Mott's going to do with Sovereignty, because Sovereignty, he's going to try and ask him for a little bit, just a little leg stretcher at the end of his gallop. That's patented. Bill's been doing that for a long time. He always gallops mile and 3/8, mile and a half, and that's why you can work 102 every 5-6 days. But if you're doing a little more in the gallop in between, Bob Baffert works his horses faster. They don't do as much galloping in between the workouts.
So what do you make of this gallop before we move on from journalism? Everything's still perfect?
Yep.
To me as a jockey looking at this, Mike, this is like when you're at the valet and you see that Ferrari sitting out there that you want to jump in. That's what I think about.
Yep. You're like, please don't bring my Honda Civic around right now. Let's take a look at Sovereignty on the track, because we were telling you, or as Bill Mott was telling you what he was going to do. The star of the show has been journalism, and yes, as Caton said, Sovereignty doesn't want to be relegated to a supporting role here. He thinks he's the star, and in any other year he would be. This is another magnificent mover and a horse with great conformation. Maybe he doesn't have the mental acuity per se as journalism, but everything else, he looks every bit as good.
Yeah, he does. All these horses, Burnham Square, Coal Battle, Sovereignty, journalism, they've all got that thing where they have their head bowed at some sort of level. This horse's head's a little high, and you can see his mouth's open, but they've got that figure-8 noseband on. If they didn't have that noseband on, he might be a little more aggressive. That mouth might be a little more open.
He just visually, look at his hind end, too. He just looks like an absolute tank. And again, his action, both horses are smooth, but you could see his action's a little bit kind of on the higher side, I would say, than say journalism.
Yeah, he runs a little hotter than the other ones.
Yes.
And we know that, and Bill said that. Rider's just keeping his hands down. You don't want to, if he raises his hands, the horse's head's going to come up, and he's got to do it. He just try to get a lead change there. That's why he's doing that. But that neck strap, you see that strap around the horse's neck, that's for the rider, especially exercise riders, to just keep their finger in and they'll keep their hands down and not lift them up.
But another one, man, just what a great mover and what a great physical conformation, biomechanically.
Yep.
Every single one of those attributes he has in spades.
So what you're going to see here, so he's coming around, he's at the top of the stretch, I think, right? Yep. And what you're going to see, he's galloping a little slower than journalism, but the last, around the clubhouse turn and down the backside, you'll just see the cadence pick up a touch here. There's the lead change, and you see just
flawless.
His head.
So smooth. Now, how would you compare the way this horse moves, Joe, with the way journalism moves?
They're close to the same, but different. Again, I think Sovereignty, he has a little bit, well, actually not so much now, but earlier it seemed like his front stride was a little higher. I would say like more of a turfy sort of a stride. But now I think he's absolutely striding out great after that. But I don't know, journalism, he's just...
He's so smooth.
Just so flawless.
And I think a lot of that, there's a lead change. I think a lot of that is because this horse is going at his slower paces. I guarantee you.
Yes, that's a great point too.
Yeah, he'll smooth out. Well, he's not smooth out. That's the wrong word. He'll level off a little bit. Probably here in just a second. If he's not going to pick it up much. I mean, it's hard for the eye to pick it up, but just a little bit of a finish there where he can just walk home with some of that edge taken off him.
Well, both Sovereignty and Journalism are closers, but Sovereignty has more of a grinding style where he just keeps coming at you.
See?
And there he picks it up just a little bit.
Picks it up a little bit.
Yeah.
Then we used to do it all the time. His head kind of, the rider's leaning a little more forward, a little less tension on the rein.
You can see it, his strides change too.
Yeah,
Look at him how he's really leveling. He's picking it up pretty good now.
So, and that I used to do that all the time. I haven't worked for Bill. That last, quarter mile 3/8, just let him finish up a little bit.
I love that. He actually got like lower to the ground as he started finishing. But again, he looks really good as well. And again, we're only 2 days out. We've spoke about that even with workouts. I feel like you could do too much at this point. So I mean, they're really just trying to get them around there and get ready for 2 days from now.
All right, let's go to Andy B. Ancone. She's standing by with Journalism's owner right now.
Aaron and Sadie Wellman just got a good look at Journalism as he galloped over the track. What are our thoughts here today, Aaron?
More of the same, and that's really what we want to see, is that he's just doing what he's been doing since he got here in his routine. Happy.
I was mentioning to everybody, I know he had a little bit of some mild antics walking to the track, but not in a nervous way, just kind of I'm the boss, I'm doing what I want. Is that a positive thing for you?
Yeah, for sure. He's soaking this all in. He's really enjoying the moment, as we're all trying to as well. And he's just an alpha male out there, so he's going to say, when I'm ready to go to the track, I'm going to go. It was very mild today. I think he was just looking around and enjoying himself, knowing he was about to go to work. And once he's on the track, he's all business.
I think that's the perfect way to describe it. He's just very, very alpha. You even see his personality down the stretch in the Santa Anita Derby. You want a horse that has a little bit of that screw you attitude. I'm going to do what I want. I'm the boss.
No doubt about it, especially when there's 20 horses out there. He's going to have to assert his authority, and hopefully he'll do it on Saturday.
He certainly has an authoritative, commanding presence. Aaron, thank you so much, and best of luck.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
Back to you guys.
So there are the barn mates, Publisher, Tistastic. They know each other well. They're drawn right next to each other in the Derby, and they are stretching their legs here. They've galloped and worked together often throughout their training careers, although both of them have their last spin by themselves.
Yeah, and the horse in front, Publisher, I mean, he's still a maiden. He hasn't won a race. Tistastic a little more accomplished. They've worked together. They've been workmates. Publisher always going a little better. Maybe Tistastic's not a good workhorse. But I think the horse in front, he would be my kind of long shot to use underneath in a superfecta, an exotic wager. Look, maidens don't do well in the Derby. I mean, you're trying to buck a trend there. It's like, Flying Mohawks never run on the dirt. That's a big task to overcome. But he's going to be a big number. But I could see him grabbing a piece of it. The Derby trifectas, there's always one horse that jumps in there at a number in the top four,
right,
always, each and every year. And he could be it for me.
And both of these horses, because the pace could be real hot, Joe. If there's a meltdown, these are the type of horses that run up and grab a piece.
Yeah, for sure. And again, to Simon's point, I'm not saying that Publisher could win, but again, his style, if they go as quick as they should on paper, it could definitely set up on it. And look, Tistastic's coming off a win in the Louisiana Derby. Publisher ran second in the Arkansas Derby. They both ran a career best 95 buyers. So, I mean, they are coming into this race, I feel like, starting to on the side of peaking. So, I mean, who knows? I feel like any one of those two could definitely jump up and run a big race.
Yeah, and I definitely think the blinkers last time helped Publisher. That was a major help for him, especially with his running style. And, second time blinkers, Kentucky Derby. And again, trip is going to be key. I think he's got him on now just for galloping, too.
And Tistastic, too, we spoke about that. The Louisiana Derby was a mile and 3/16. Only a 16th more is the distance of the Kentucky Derby, which is a mile and a quarter. And he wasn't getting tired at all in that race. He galloped out really well, showed a lot of energy after that race. So, again, if you're looking for a horse that can handle the distance, 100% Tistastic can.
Yeah, they can both handle the distance. Can they handle it faster than some of the top horses in here is the question, because at this point, these are two very good horses. Do you put them in the top 3 or 4, though? I don't know. I don't know if you can put them in front of Sandman, Baeza, obviously, if he gets in, Journalism, Sovereignty. Now we're going to take a look at Burnham Square here, if I don't get whiplash. There's Burnham Square. Let's take a look at Burnham Square. And this to me has been the worker of the week just because of the neck bow and what we saw the other day. It was crazy.
I know. That's so fun to see. Me and Simon were talking about that. I don't know if I've ever seen a horse gallop like that without draw reins. And draw reins is something to where it makes a horse really put their head down and use their hind end, which is a really good thing to do. And it's a good tool, which is a different type of reins. But again, just with the regular, I think ring bit or deep bit, whatever he has, that is absolutely incredible how he does that. You could see he's starting to get a little bit warm, has some sweat on his shoulder there.
Yeah, which is what he can do. I've been impressed with how calm he's been. This is kind of what he did before the Fountain of Youth.
Yeah.
You know, he got a little warm and they skipped the Florida Derby. He's one to keep an eye on the walkover on Saturday for sure, because he's a horse that's going to take some money. He's on a lot of people's radar, but, you know, how you handle the prelims. We keep talking about it, but I'm telling you, it's like nothing these horses have ever seen before.
Let me ask you about the fitness angle, because we did a feature once on Vladimir Serena like 10 years ago or something, and I'll never forget this because he was a kinesiologist. He used to train humans before he trained horses, and he said the biggest difference is, and I always remember this, he goes, the human body you can do anything to, and it'll build back stronger. You can push the human body to these extreme limits, and almost all the time it'll build back and it'll create more muscle. He said horses have a very finite amount of fitness you can get. You can go over the top and train them too hard. You can make them, basically, their bodies don't build back the same. So what is it like walking that knife's edge of fitness or going over the top?
Well, I mean, it's really important, and that's exactly right, because, you know, it's like you're training on a line of just a piece of dental floss and you don't want to go over it. I mean, watching how they how they eat is key. That gives you a lot of feedback as a trainer, how they do. You know, you take a horse and you work them 58, 59, and they come back and they don't eat, then you know, it's too much. It takes some time to recover. Don't come back and work in 7 days. Maybe give the horse extra time. So there's so much to it. Training horses is hard, but from Charlie Whittingham used to say this, it's not that hard in some respect. You just got to show up and be there. It's noticing the difference from day to day. You've got to be there every day just to notice what the difference is. Are they eating? Are they not? You know, you just got to pay attention, and the big barns have good help. They have people in place to do that. But yeah, I mean, you can't push horses to the max. You can't go out there and say, okay, you know, an athlete, we're going to do a 2-hour workout today. We're going to do weights, and then we're going to go do cardio. You can't say to a horse, oh, we're going to go do a gait work, and then we're going to come back and do a half mile. It just didn't work. You can't do it.
Scott is walking by Baeza right now. Scott, anxious moments in their camp. They don't know if they're in or out, and they won't know for another 25 hours.
Yeah, definitely, Mike, and that's obviously something that we're going to be tracking here on FanDuel TV. We'll have any news over the course of the next few days in relationship to any of the races you're going to see this weekend at Churchill Downs. But I can tell you one thing, this horse spent a lot of time out on the track. He's got a good sweat on. He's lathered up behind, and he's going to be handed off to his groom right now from the pony. But you can see the sweat up on his neck and his hind quarters. But I don't know exactly when he went out onto the track, but I mean, we're at 40 past the hour, and the window opened at 15 past the hour. So we're going to have an opportunity to talk to John Shirreffs in just a moment as he walks back into the shed row. So we're going to camp out here and get more information on Baeza and the feelings from John Shirreffs being in this position on the outside looking in.
And it begs a conversation about the point system, who I think the entire industry has embraced this point system. It's been a great change for the quality of the race, the caliber of the horses that get in. We've more often than not had the right horses in than out. But this is the runner-up of the Santa Anita Derby. And he was penalized because there weren't enough horses in the Derby by no fault of his own. So it inadvertently penalized the people who run in the prep race. And he's on the outside looking in, and then you have a horse like Render Judgment who squeaks in with, you know, 2.5 points he earned in a 2-year-old race to put him in front of him.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's a crazy dynamic too, and I mean, what a race he ran too in the Santa Anita Derby. That was only his 4th career start. He had just broken his maiden in his 3rd start, and I mean, I thought ran an unbelievable second, beating less than a half a length to Journalism, and to me was actually trying to fight back in the end.
Yeah, he was, and you know, to the point system conversation, this is the first time we've been in this situation,
right?
So, I think we've got to take it with a grain of salt. And then I think, going forward, I agree. I mean, if you run second in the Santa Anita Derby,
you should be in.
You should be in, but let's see how it plays out. I mean, if we go to the Preakness in 2 weeks, this horse wins the Preakness, come back and win the Belmont. Now, that's a sad state of affairs that he was sitting on the sideline
right, for the Derby, yeah.
For the Derby. So I think, we got to let it play out, see what happens. But I mean, I'm sure if that scenario does play out, there'll be some different conversations. But, 25 hours, he'll know.
There's a look at him, and he's walking right behind us now. He's taking it all in, talking to the fans, saying hello. Looks like he's getting a little warm there, Joe.
I wouldn't be worried about that.
Yeah, and Joe, you've been in that situation on the outside looking, and you spoke to it, where you're just waiting to find out if something happens, and it can be very stressful, and it can make your stomach churn.
Yeah, it's definitely anxious moments because you want to. This is what you wake up every single day for in work, is to compete and ride in the Kentucky Derby as a jockey. And again, on the outside looking in, I mean, you truly don't know. Especially, I know exactly what this is like right now at 25 hours out. I mean, you truly don't know if you're going to be in or out, what to do. I mean, it's crazy.
There's a look at Baeza. And Neo Equos is a horse that is connected here because Flavien Prat is named on both. He and his agent have come out and said if Baeza gets in, they're going to opt for Baeza. But Neo Equos is in the body of the field, and that's his mount right now.
Yeah, I mean, we haven't seen him much this week. I mean, 55-1 reflects his chance. I mean, looking at his past performances, I mean, he can't be in my business betting anyway. I just don't see any point of where he's going to be a factor at the finish of this race. In the early part of the race, yes, but I mean, as the races have got longer, I mean, the margin of defeat gets larger, right? So he goes to the front. As the races get longer, he kind of backs up. So, he was winning at 6 furlongs, 7 furlongs, and then he goes a mile and 16, gets beat 2 lengths, mile and 8 gets beat 4 lengths. He's running a mile and a quarter Saturday. If the pattern continues, which I fully expect, he gets beat 12 lengths.
Yeah, I agree. Again, he's won 2 races, but they were both sprinting. And he's going to have to step up in a big way on Saturday.
Let's get back to Baeza as Scott Hazelton standing by with John Shirreffs.
Yeah, and Baeza spending quite a bit of time out there on the track. What was the plan and why so much time spent on the track during the training period?
Well, today I decided to go 2 miles with him. I think because Baeza's whole card is actually distance, right? He loves the distance. So today I wanted to make sure I had a big gallop so on Saturday it wouldn't be too fresh.
You speak of Saturday. Are you expecting to get in? Where are we at here, John?
Well, I don't know. It's been really quiet on the backside, so I don't know. But I'm preparing, as I should.
Is this one of the oddest situations you've ever encountered as a trainer?
It is. It's very awkward, but I think he deserves an opportunity if it presents itself.
Preparing for a race that may or may not be there for you. I mean, is that just a tough situation to be in? Does it change his routine at all for you? If he doesn't get in, how do you approach the couple weeks on down the line in Baltimore?
Yeah, so it is a little bit different because he's away from home. He'll be away from home for a longer time than we anticipated. But other than that, that's all. So he gets experience some different places, different things, different training. So I think it's all very good for him as a learning and growing process.
How much have you seen him grow since the Santa Anita Derby?
From the Santa Anita Derby, it's quite often horses have a little drop off, just because they expended a lot of energy and everything. But he didn't have that, and he's continued to just train on.
Well, John, we appreciate it, and we'll be checking in here over the course of the next 25 hours as the countdown clock is on.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
So, Baeza training as if he's going in. This morning, though, as we react to the words from John Shirreffs, he's basically in that spot that we know he's in. He's not wishing any ill will for his colleagues or contenders, but he wants to get in the race.
Yeah, and Simon, you could talk about this as a trainer. I mean, it is kind of awkward because he's trying to get this horse, and to the race in absolute peak form. But if Saturday comes and he's not going to run, I mean, it is a weird situation.
Yeah, and then you got to flip the switch and look at the Preakness. You know, a lot of these horses that run in the Derby and go to the Preakness, they don't do much in between the race, because now he's got to probably have to put a work in and think about that. So there's a lot. I like what he said there, because usually, you know, on the backside, I know the media nowadays is a little different, but usually if something's going to happen, sometimes you hear those rumors.
The whispers.
There's a lot of smoke, there's fire.
Yeah, exactly. Backstretch buzz is usually, there's a lot of it, and there's none of it this year.
Yeah.
So I want to ask you something about Baeza, because when he was on the track, let's take a look at this footage right now. He's very washy. I mean, under his saddle towel and everything. Is this something to be something about?
This is post-exercise, right, or before? It depends if this is after his gallop. This is walking back. I wouldn't be worried about it.
Okay.
I mean, if I'd run 2 miles, I would be happy to look like that.
Okay.
Yeah, Mike, you wouldn't look like that. But
I break a sweat like that when I tie my shoes. Like, let's be serious. Yeah. At any rate.
And again, it's warm. It's a little humid, and if a horse is going to get a little warm, that's to be expected. And even Sovereignty got a little bit warm too. So
which is
again,
him.
that's going to happen.
A little hot-blooded. Okay.
Yeah, and he ran. He galloped 2 miles, so
yeah.
I would expect that. I'd be concerned if he wasn't sweating.
Yeah.
So I mean, part of the show is being on Baeza watch. Does he or does he not get in? And they'll probably have a discussion about this situation post-Derby and figure out what the right move is. Leaving things the same? Do they make a caveat? Do they change the system? Do they, they could take any course that they want, really. But the point system to this point has been a tremendous, tremendous success.
Yeah.
This is the first time we've really had an issue with a horse probably deserving to be in the body of the field, stuck on the outside looking in.
Yeah.
Right, as of today. But, we might look in 6 months and say maybe Baeza shouldn't have been in the Derby. You just don't know. You don't know.
So Baeza right now on the outside looking in, and his resume as good as any. He's getting a little bit of water. He's out there grazing in the open grazing patches of grass here are tremendous. And how about this? This could be the third year in a row that someone from this family makes the Derby. Dornick last year, Mage won the Derby 2 years ago, and here's Baeza just one scratch away from getting in.
I don't think we've ever seen that. A broodmare throw 3 foals like that in a row that make it to the Kentucky Derby?
Yeah, that is absolutely insane. Again, I don't think I mean, to make it 2 years in a row, I don't know if that's happened.
Yeah, Scott, I mean, everything about this story as we're hanging on the edge is pretty incredible when you think about the short career of Baeza thus far.
We'll watch for her to come back with the
beauty of this sport is you never know what story you're going to come across, and that's the story as of right now for Baeza, with the hopes of getting into the body of the field. But coming back here and watching him cool out, I mean, he's cooled out pretty quickly. He just had a sip of water. He's very mellow back here as he gets an opportunity just to cool out instead of being in the shed row. So they're just taking laps around this tree here, and every couple of laps he'll come over and get a sip of water, and this is the routine as far as cooling a horse out. And they've got the blanket on him as well, as you can clearly see. But back to the family of Baeza, I mean, Puka, what a story she has been to produce in 3 consecutive generations, top 3-year-olds like Mage and Dornock and Baeza. I mean, I think that this is something that we may not come across for many, many decades, honestly, because you look at production from broodmares through the generations as far as top 3-year-olds, there can be gaps in being able to produce top-level runners like this. So she is a brilliant broodmare. She's a horse that was a good racehorse during her career, and she herself by a Derby winner in Big Brown. So as he comes here to the bucket, looks like they're just going to adjust the blanket, and he'll get another sip of water. But a cool character Baeza has back here, just getting a chance to spend a little time with him and be a little up close with the 21 saddlecloth horse. And whether that 21 will lead to post 20, we'll find out.
We've seen just about everyone graze on that grass there other than Scott Hazelton, but he's been there for all of it. We've got some questions from our viewers out there. Let's go to the social media site formerly known as Twitter with this question. Might be too late for it this year, but how about a piece on the etiquette involved in morning works? Who gets the rail, who gallops at the center, why they trot clockwise and on the outside rail? Maybe Andy, Joe, or Simon could explain. I'm going to nominate Andy Biancone to explain.
So a request we got on Twitter was to go over traffic etiquette on the racetrack. I thought it was a great idea, and I'm going to share it with you guys. So first rule, faster traffic always towards the rails. So horses who are galloping always going counterclockwise, and if you're working, you're on the rail. If you're going slower, you're more towards the outside, and the outside rail is reserved for horses going clockwise, and those horses are for joggers only. So when you're going the wrong way, you're backing up. It's solely for horses who are jogging. So usually in a typical gallop, we'll back a horse up to a certain point, stand or turn around, and then go counterclockwise the right way to start our gallops. But like I said, faster traffic to the left, typically courtesy as an exercise rider to pass people on the left as well, kind of like you're driving on the freeway. But with horses, it's not always the case. Sometimes people do pass you on the outside, but it is always courteous to say coming by as you're passing somebody. Also, the siren goes on. If there is a loose horse, it doesn't matter what you're doing, you have to pull up and come down to a walk. And if you are not able to get your horse down to a walk, you could get a fine or in trouble by the outriders. So the outriders are basically set up all around track to help horses who get loose, or an exercise rider who needs help, who can't control their horse or is getting run off with. The outriders are always there, and some of the best outriders are right here at Churchill Downs. I've never felt safer as an exercise rider than I do here at this track. But that's the traffic etiquette. Very similar to driving a car, except your car is scared of other cars and doesn't have brakes.
And that's a good point.
Scared of other cars and doesn't have brakes.
And I tell you what, it is like a fraternity or sorority. I mean, everyone takes care of everybody out there. So, you know, all the exercise riders, like if Bill Maher was to bring out Sovereignty, they all know it's a good horse. They're going to say, how far are you going? I'm going to work a half. Why don't you go? So nobody gets caught up in traffic, because you can blow a work like that. But yeah, exactly. Workers, I would say, general rule paths 1 through 3, 1 through 4 on the track. 4 through 6 gallopers, and then the far outside where they're going the clockwise, just joggers. But people help. I mean, you can't see it if you're watching, but the exercise riders are talking to each other on the track. How far are you going? Are you going to break off? What are you doing? Well,
this brings up a good point. So Andy says she's never felt safer working horses anywhere here at Churchill Downs. How different is it from track to track? Is this another thing that the jockeys, exercise rider, have to adjust to? If you're coming from a racetrack, say you're based somewhere else around the country, and you're only here at Churchill for this week with this horse, is that another adjustment, or is it pretty universal from track to track? I
mean, honestly, not only Churchill Downs, but I feel like over the years, so many tracks have evolved from morning workouts. Because again, if you take all the horses on the backside, however many there may be, 500 to 1,000, if most of them all go out at once, it's a free-for-all, right? So I think the way over the last few years how they've designated the first 10 to 15 minutes of each break for workers only has been huge. Because again, if you go out and work a horse and there's 200 other horses on there, it could be a mess.
Right. It was absolute zoo. Del Mar. Okay, and you got to take into the fact the size of the track, the horse population, right? That comes into how busy it's going to be. Del Mar's a little narrower. It's a smaller track. When I was training after the gap, everyone goes after the break because they want the best track. So the decision you make back in the day was, do you work your horse with 500 horses, or do you wait 30 minutes when it's quiet, but the track's had 500 horses over it? It's that balance. Yeah. So what Joe's saying is they've eliminated that. They just have the workers, and I think that's made a huge difference.
Yeah, right. And from a safety comparison too, again, because if so many horses are coming on the track, if you have 50 horses, to Andy's point, if they're backtracking, jogging, and they spook from one little thing, if they spook from something and cut to the inside, and 20 horses are galloping by, that's going to be an absolute train wreck.
You know, it's like Formula One. Like in layman's terms, this is pretty basic. You know, they have the race, but the days before they have the time lapse to see who's going to get. I mean, imagine having a warm-up session the day before and then sending a car out there just to see if it's working okay, going half the speed of everyone else. I mean, it caused chaos. So I think this has been a major help, what they've done with unlimited, just having breakers. Most racetracks do that now, and workers after the break.
Caton's working for us, right? Right. But really right now, she's working for Jay Privman to get that bath shot of Sovereignty. This is for Jay. Let's go to Caton Bradar. She's standing by the Bill Mott bar.
Sovereignty's getting his bath now, but interestingly, he gets warm on the track, which Joe alluded to. But really, for as warm as it is this morning, he was a pretty cool customer. Now, when he did a little more, came back to the barn. He actually walked the shed row under tack, what we call tack walking, for about 15 minutes before they actually took the saddle off of him, and then brought him outside to get a bath. I think the theory is to just literally keep him out of the stall as long as possible. He really seems to be thriving in this environment. You can see how calm he is for everything. You can also see how much love the entire staff has for him at every step and every turn. After the bath, he's going to get a good long walk around the barn, but he took maybe a sip or two of water, and that's about it. This horse is fit, and he appears ready for the big race.
That's a little thing that I'll pick up, nobody else will. How many people are bathing him there? You've never seen that this week.
4.
Well, there's 2 people actually
bathing him and 2 people holding him.
That's all by design, to have the 2 people. So Bill does that, and it eliminates a horse off the exercise just standing there longer,
right,
and being inactive. So he'll do that after a work more often than not, and with a good horse. And
it's interesting.
Yeah, it's all the little things.
The little thing. I'll tell you what, Sovereignty is my Derby horse right now. Unless Baeza gets in, then that's my Derby horse. But as things stand right now, I couldn't be more impressed with Sovereignty, and he is a horse that has just shown so much improvement throughout the year. There's Michael McCarthy. Well, bubble wrap time. That's been the cliche. We'd like to thank Bob Baffert for the bubble wrap phrase. But Michael McCarthy and journalism, everything has gone perfectly up until this point. We'll have more from Breakfast at the Derby right after this.
Countries, each one a crucial step in the quest for a coveted spot in the starting gate at Churchill Downs. As with every year, this road has delivered the stories that captivate us. The established stars battling to maintain their dominance. And then there's the underdogs, rising through the ranks. You know, the ones you simply can't help but root for.
Whole battle! I don't know how you can't root for this horse.
They've all chased a piece of history, a chance to etch their names into the legendary tapestry of the Kentucky Derby. Now, the Derby Trail has reached its final destination, but one question remains. Who will be crowned the winner of the 151st Kentucky Derby?
Junior Alvarado, Sovereignty has been looking like an absolute bear all throughout the week. How happy are you with his progress?
Very excited. I think this is what I wanted kind of to see him. I knew he has ability. I knew he can run a little bit, but I always thought that there was way more there. But Billy never had to get more of him since he was doing everything so easily. But I just think coming into the Derby, we're about to see probably his best race yet.
I know he wasn't 100% fit when he was able to win the Fountain of Youth. How fit do you think he is at this point, in comparatively speaking to his fitness point at the Fountain of Youth?
I'm just going to say this. When I saw him working 2 weeks ago, he worked min flat and gallop out 112 and 125 the 7 furlong. That's not him. He won't do that never. He would have never done it. And like I said, that just make me realize that he probably, the light just went out on him, and that, Billy just tightened his screw on him. And like I said, I just think we're sitting in his best race to come.
He's been looking very aggressive in the mornings, especially in his works, pulling very much to the pole. So that wasn't really typical for him about a couple months ago.
No, a couple months ago, I probably would be able to put my kid on it. He was a very laid back, chilling. Like I said, I just think, the light hadn't gone on him. I just think he was doing everything so easily that, Bill didn't have the urge to tie him up. He was just good and fast at that point. But I just think, going into the Derby, he did a couple tricks with him, and now I think, like I said, we're sitting in a good run.
Knowing that he's feeling so good and gotten more aggressive and that light bulb has gone on, how does that change your riding in the race?
No, I just think he's going to run the same way. I just think that's his style now, and I don't want to change that. I just know that, when I press the button, I know what I'm going to have underneath me. And like I say, he loved this track. He ran already over this track, and I think he gets a good hold of this track, which is like a plus, I would say. And yeah, just very excited for Saturday now.
Junior, he's an unbelievable horse. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, Andy.
Back to you guys.
All systems go for Sovereignty, as he just could not look any better. I do like how she asked him, is this going to change how you ride the race? He said, no, but it's a legitimate question when he's feeling this good.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And that's the one good thing about Junior Alvarado. He knows his horse so well, Simon. And you could tell in his interview, he's very excited because I think he's seen his progression from race to race. And as you pointed out, I think he's in absolute peak form right now.
Yeah, Junior Alvarado, it's a good story as well. Just quick 20 seconds. He started with Bill. He wasn't a household name for a big trainer like that. Bill likes to have a rider that he can go to. He'll tell you. A lot of trainers plan out their races and tell the jockeys and the agents, I'm going here, here, and there, and then he can build their business around. Bill's a guy that enters at the last minute, which is a nightmare for trainers and jockeys, because you don't know how to plan your other business. So he's committed to him. He's brought him along. Bill's given him advice along the way. Junior's a very hard-working guy, and Bill's a hard-working guy. And he's been working this horse since Saratoga of last year. Like, he gets on 2-year-olds, to breeze them and gallop them. So he's really made a good name for himself the last 5-10 years there with Agent Mike Slater.
He's an excellent jockey. Junior Alvarado is an excellent jockey. There's no two ways about it. So let's start talking about our works of the week. I'm not going to have any. You two are the smart ones. We're giving you all 2 works of the week. Let's start with your second best worker of the week. I think we know who the first one's going to be. But let's just, for posterity's sake, let's start with number 2. Who is your second best worker of the week?
Burnham Square. Okay. I really liked his work the other day. Brian Hernandez was aboard. He ended up going 59 and change. I just loved his tempo coming out of the bluegrass. I thought on paper the bluegrass was his best win. He won by nose, ran a 96.5. But in this work, I was really looking to see kind of what his energy was going to be like if he regressed any out of that work. And I think the complete opposite. I think he's probably doing as good as he ever is. You could see right up there, 59 and 2 for 5/8. He galloped out really well under Brian Hernandez, and I just really like the way he's striding out here on the gallop out. He did just enough. Again, that was a quick time, but I think he was far enough out to where he has enough time to settle down and come back for Saturday.
Now, Mark Cutler, the exercise rider for Ian Wilkes, he put on the FanDuel TV meta glasses for us as we're taking a first-person point of view. This is fantastic. Check this out as he gets aboard. And this wasn't for the work. This was for that bowed neck gallop that we saw that was just so unusual looking. But honestly, it was one of the more unique things we saw all week long.
And I love how FanDuel was able to get these made of glass. This is such a great experience for fans to watch, how he's going out on the track, and then you could see he's walking the wrong way there. To Andy's point, all the slow traffic going the opposite way, and then he's going to stand right here, kind of get a look around at the track. That's there we are up there, Mike.
Yep.
That's such a cool shot. Then you could see right here. See, he's going to make a cross, right? Mark Cutler's going to make a cross right here. I think you'll be able to see it. Then he's just going to put his hands back. Look, you can see he's full of himself. He's definitely wanting to go. But
what does that feel like when you're in the irons of a horse like this that you're trying to get the gallop slow?
Trust me, it's not easy. Like Mark Cutler has his hands pretty. He's got a handful right there. You could see he's wanting to get his head up. That's why. And this is a really good angle. This is where he bows that head really low, and then he just pulled up here.
Yeah, I mean, this is a type of horse. Some horses you can gallop, long range, finesse him. This is a horse you just go up there, you set your hands, and you don't move them. You just keep them right there. And this is the footage from the other morning. This is the vantage point that the exercise riders get as they're seeing all the crowd there each and every day. But this is the gallop from the other day. That's what we were talking about.
Yeah, look at that.
Yeah. See what I mean? He puts a hand either side of his neck and just locks it in place.
It looks like he's looking at his back feet. I mean, it really does. It's like he's watching those his own back feet hit the ground.
Joe touched on it. There's a piece of equipment called draw reins, which we haven't seen any of this week. And it's a set of reins that attach to the girth. That's that strap that attaches to the saddle, to the horse. And the draw reins attach to the girth. They go through the ring of the bit, and then they look like a regular pair of reins. And the idea of that is to give the rider a little more leverage. If you've got a horse that's aggressive or gets his head up, draw reins will put them in this position. Yes. Basically, Mark Cutler is the human version of draw reins.
Yes.
He really is.
And look, make no mistake about it, Simon, if he just takes his hands loose and gives him his head, he would just take off. I mean, it would be like Brian Hernandez breaking him off at the 5/8 pole to work. He's just so used to having that tight hold and bow in his head, which makes Mark's job that much harder, but does an unbelievable job. And this is what's so good about Exercise Boys being on this horse for so long. He knows this horse, and not only that, Burnham Square knows the difference when Mark's galloping him and then when Brian Hernandez is going to get on him. They're that smart.
They can feel by the length of the stirrups. You know, when jockeys pull the stirrups up, they know they can feel the feet so much higher. They know they're working. You only ride short when you're working or racing.
Right.
See how long his legs are there? And the toughest part for Mark in this is the lead change, because right there, he's got to let the horse bring his head up to switch leads. That's the moment where if he brought his head up, then he can. If he got a hold of the bit, it would be gone.
Yeah.
This is just the craziest thing I've seen all week. And I've never seen, in 47 years at the racetrack, I've never seen a horse gallop like this. I am admittedly not a trainer or a horseman, but I've seen my fair share of works. And Burnham Square, a main contender, a brilliant performance in the Toyota Bluegrass with a very unique gallop. And Mark Cutler, by the way, if he ever wanted to get in front of the camera, I'd be the first to offer him a job. That guy was great the other day.
Oh, that was and really good insights too. Again, I was so glad the fans were able to kind of see that backstage like that.
He's got a future in broadcasting if he wants it. Although these guys like the jobs they have getting on these unbelievable horses. Seriously, don't take our job.
You're doing great.
Okay, Andy, I know you have some thoughts about how Burnham Square gallops and what we just saw there.
Yeah, totally. It's crazy because, as you guys were saying, Mark kind of rides this horse a little bit longer to maybe try to keep him relaxed. A person like me, I couldn't ride a horse that long and be able to hold them. I would have to gallop, as Simon says, like at a breeze length with my stirrups to have leverage, because I would need my entire body weight to be able to hold a horse like that versus just knuckling down and using my arms. So all credit to Mark. Granted, the horse naturally does like to kind of flex himself. Spoke to Mark the other day, and he said that's really just how this horse likes to go, but he is pretty much pulling a lot of the time. And granted, he does give him breaks, but obviously when the horse switches leads or is pulling up, etc., those are kind of periods of time where he grabs the bit even more. So just all good stuff. Every horse is an individual, and as Joe said, they know their riders, they know their jockeys, they know when they're working, they know when they're galloping. Horses are just beyond smart.
And he's a good comparison to journalism, because how good journalism is. I mean, he does everything right. You know, he's the perfect student. This is a horse that, as I mentioned earlier on the week, he's a gelding. He was gelding. If a horse is really good, you don't want to geld him. There's a potential stallion value there. And Ian Wilkes said if he hadn't gelded him, he might not have been this far along because he's a little bit of a head case. I mean, he was in a maiden claiming rate at 150,000. Nobody claims maiden. But if you thought he was a Derby horse, you would never put him in a maiden $150,000 claimer. And so, you know, he's had some mental issues along the way, and you look at his bloodline that kind of goes with it. So he's still developing, but he's one to watch on the walkover.
And, and because of those reasons, you don't usually see geldings in the Kentucky Derby. We're going to take a look at geldings that have run in the Kentucky Derby and how they have fared over the years. Of course, Funny Side and Mind That Bird won the Kentucky Derby in 2009 and 2003, but in recent years, they haven't shown well.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you can see, I mean, they've finished, 11th or worse. So I think, you know, looking at that list, I would say Burnham Square is the best of those, of the 9 that haven't won the, 7 or 8 that haven't won the Derby. So, yeah, I mean, there's a lot to be said for Burnham Square. I think he's got a legitimate chance on paper, but the only admonition I would make is watch him and how he's acting in the walkover, because he has the potential to go the wrong way, where journalism, I think, can handle it.
Scott?
Jockey Jareth Loveberry getting his second opportunity in the Kentucky Derby, 2 years removed from a phenomenal showing with 2 fills. But let's talk Chunk of Gold. How would you describe your experiences with him in his last couple of races?
I think he's a really improving horse. First time I rode him, Risen Star. You know, he got in trouble. I tried following the favorite, and he stopped right in front of me. And to get that experience, have to stop to come back and make the move to get second, I think that showed a lot. And then the next start, he was a little bit closer. He still showed heart, and I've been getting on him in the morning at Turfway in his works, and he's improving each time I've got on him.
What kind of improvement have you seen from him since those races in Fairgrounds?
A lot of mentality, his mentality going into it, going in the works, just the way he's holding a bit, the way he's picking up stride. It's just, and his gallop outs are unbelievable. So it's just gotten better and better each time.
You can map out a plan, but the plan seems to go out the window immediately, leaving the starting gate. So as of right now, what is your plan with Chunk of Gold in the Derby on Saturday?
Yeah, watching a lot of replays, a bunch of the Derbies, and it can be chaotic, but you just hope for a nice clean trip. The biggest one I've watched was I'll Have Another, number 19, and he had a nice, clean, smooth trip over, a bunch of speed from the inside in that race also, and hopefully to emulate that same race.
A couple of years ago, 2 fills, ran a giant race in the Derby. How many times have you watched that race back in the last few years?
I can't have a count on my phone to see how many times, but it's been quite a few times. Just very thankful for that horse. He got me there the first time. He ran a really, really good race, and hopefully this time with Chunk we can make it a little bit better.
What'd you learn from that experience looking back on it?
Just be patient. I mean, the holes open up and you got to take them, but patience is always key.
Were you patient that day? Patient enough?
Patient enough. The hole open, and sometimes you got to take it. It was almost the same as Mystic Dan last year, but it was probably about a 16th too early, but I had to take it.
Well, hopefully you can go out there and take it on Saturday, Jareth. Appreciate the time this morning.
Of course. Thank you, guys.
Jareth Loveberry. Oh, Scotty with the hug. Chicago boys. Jay Lovett's done a lot of good work in the Windy City.
He's a great guy too. I call him the Love Man, even though Ronnie Ebanks has that originally. Jareth's such a great rider, great human being, and again, he touched on 2 fills. I think that experience alone, just in that one race, is going to help him tremendously. Because as he said, the Derby, when holes open up, you have to take it. Because I mean, it could close in a millisecond. But again, it's knowing when those holes open, take it, and then maybe wait a little bit. But again, just to have that experience is going to be crucial.
Huge, yeah. I mean, he said it, you know. But it's hard, Mike. You're going 40 miles an hour. You got to make split-second decisions, right? I mean, the hole's there. You're going to take it, and then you look back at the replay. Oh, if I'd only waited half a second longer or something. But that's the Derby.
Let's check in with Caton.
Guys, I'm here at Brian Lynch's barn standing in front of Owen Almighty, who right now is in an ice tub, but very standard for him as far as his routine. I tried to talk to Brian Lynch, who responded that he was very busy. He responded to the rest of the media with the same, that he didn't have time to talk. He would talk after the race if there was anything to talk about. You can definitely sense a little frustration from Brian based on his former comments. This was not necessarily his ideal plan. I know he had targeted Owen Almighty for the Pat Day Mile, but understandably, owners get caught up in the idea of the opportunity once in a lifetime to run in the Kentucky Derby. Regardless, we didn't see him out on the track this morning. Typically, Owen Almighty does go during the designated time period, but later, not with the first rush of Derby horses. He's been amongst, say, the second or even the third toward the latter part of the designated break. I don't believe that was the case today, and based on where he's at right now, I don't think that was the case. I don't know if he trained any earlier today, and I don't know that we will find that out. So in the meantime, we'll just continue to see what Owen Almighty does in the days leading up to the Derby.
I've been there. It's such a tough position to be in when you kind of forced your hand to run and you don't want to do it. You can't say too much. What if you look up and the horse wins, you know?
Right.
There's a chance of it happen. We've seen 2 situations this week of it. Of course, Kenny McPeek's horse, right? And
Render Judgment. Family of the late Toby Keith.
Yeah.
They want to, and look, if you earn the points, it needs to be said, if you earn the points, you have every right to run in the Kentucky Derby, and the owners do pay the bills. I think sometimes we forget to give them the credence that they're due. There are 2 groups that consistently put money into this game, the bettors and the owners. And the owners are the ones paying the bills that own these horses. If they earn the points and they want to go, it's their prerogative.
No question about it. I mean, you're exactly right. They call the shots. I mean, you're the hired help, right, as a trainer. So you kind of, you know, as long as the horse is sound. I mean, if I'm a trainer, I just want to know my horse is sound. If you have to run, you have to run. So be it. And I think results the last several years of the Derby have forced this a little more with the rich strikes, with some of the big numbers, you know.
Country House.
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean,
so
you have bombs winning.
Everyone's got a shot, right?
So we will keep an eye on Owen Almighty. But yeah, Brian Lynch obviously everyone's feeling the pressure. Everyone's feeling the pressure this week. Unless even Bob Baffert and a Wayne Lucas, you know, on the exterior, they seem like they're cool and collected and they're just taking it all in. But even they get the churning stomach. This is a big day.
Oh, I mean, this is the Super Bowl. I mean, and again, so many people have said that if you don't feel that, I don't think you should be here, quite honestly. I mean, you're going to feel something, whether it's nerves, anxiety, butterflies. There's something going on.
Well, in our sport especially, from a trainer's perspective, you don't want to be embarrassed on a national scale, right? I mean, our sport is in front of a national audience 5 days a year. It's 360 when, you know, it's just a regular audience covering. So you don't want anything to go wrong or embarrass yourself on the national stage.
Anxious moments as we are just over 48 hours away from Kentucky Derby 151. Let's check in again with Andy Biancone.
My longtime friend, Mr. Derek Smith. I feel like we have our annual meetup at the Kentucky Derby. When did you get into Louisville?
Last evening, in from Barbados. Yep, thank you.
How does it feel to be back in Derby City?
Oh, fantastic! I mean, we race around the world, but there is nothing like the Kentucky Derby to come to. We've been trying a few years now, and hopefully this is going to be the one.
You have 2 vested interests in Tistastic and journalism. How does it feel to see these horses on track this morning?
Oh, terrific! I mean, both look great. I mean, journalism, he looks fantastic, and Mike is very, very pleased with him. Steve has it with the other horse, so yeah, we're really looking forward to it, and hopefully the race will be set up nicely for us. It's going to be a fast pace, which should suit us.
To say you've been involved with a lot of good horses is an absolute understatement. How does journalism and Tistastic stack up against some of the best that you've had?
Well, I'm sure. I mean, you know, they're both high-class horses. I mean, journalism by Curlin and tis the law. So, yeah, I mean, with all systems go, and it's just very, very exciting. It's not difficult to see what a good-looking horse journalism is. I mean, he really is a bull of a horse.
He really is. I could not agree with you more. Well, thank you so much for your time. Always a pleasure catching up, and good luck this weekend.
Thanks very much. Thanks, Andy. Thanks a lot.
Back to you guys.
It was funny because last year with Sierra Leone, I know who Derek Smith is. I've never actually interviewed him, and I was like, oh, somebody should get Derek Smith for an interview. And Andy walks up to him and he gives her like a big hug. I'm like, oh yeah, they trained Lionheart. He's known her since she was like 5 years old.
Yeah, that's so funny.
I'm like, oh, okay, we got access into the Coolmore gang. Got it. Nicely done. Thank you very much. Let's take a look at. I know both of you think this is the work of the week, so we're just going to get right into journalism. Let's take a look. This was from Sunday. They had to push it back a day. Remember all the drama, but he could not do any better.
Yeah, and again, we saw Burnham Square's work earlier. This is completely different. So Burnham Square went 59-2. Journalism went 101-2. That's about a 10-length difference. But I like this work even more just because Simon pointed it out earlier in the week, just his cadence, like the way he's doing this. It is just poetry in motion, and not only the 5/8 time, but I loved his gallop out. Again, nothing. It wasn't overly fast, but from a fitness standpoint and smoothness, I don't think this could have gone any better. And again, just looks so balanced, and I just think he's absolutely primed and ready to go for Saturday.
You couldn't have done that work 100 times; it would be any better. I mean, that's it. That's what it is. I mean, he moves perfectly. His lead changed like. And I might you say sometimes you can't see it. I like that with a horse. It's so smooth you can't see the lead change. And I mean he's just very, very fluid. He's got a great way of going. Derek Smith, Coolmore, biggest breeding operation in the world, one of them at least with Godolphin. He hits the horse he brought up. Obviously, looks like I think he's seen him for the first time in person and took him aback there, seeing him this morning. So yeah, he's a very good looking horse.
And you don't need to have an expert eye like a Simon Bray or a Derek Smith or a Joe Talmo. Anybody can see just how brilliantly.
Yeah, I mean, you could pick
moves.
somebody from, what is it, Breakfast at the Downs or whatever, and they would pick that horse out.
We haven't said the name of that thing right once this whole week.
Dawn at Downs?
I think it's Dawn at the Downs.
Downs at
Dawn
Dawn?
at the Derby? I don't even know. Let's go to Kate and Bradar.
Okay, guys, an update. After stopping by Owen Almighty's barn, they did take him out of the ice tub. And when I walked around the barn, Brian Lynch and Hunter Rankin, who's managing partner for the ownership group, were powwowing with one of the veterinarians here. And Owen Almighty was out being examined by the veterinarian. He just jogged up and down the road. And Brian, obviously under a lot of pressure, just asked the media to wait until they've dealt with the situation to make any type of a statement. So it's a little early to make any judgment calls as to what's going to happen at this stage of the game, but definitely we'll be following up with Owen Almighty.
Okay, so anxious moments there at his camp. If he's powwowing with the owner and the vet, people are going to start making that connection. Is there a possibility Owen Almighty could be declared from the Derby?
Well, we said, John Shirreffs we interviewed, he's the person on the outside looking. We said backstretch bus, whispers, and then when you go to a barn and their trainer shuts it down, doesn't want to talk to anybody, and the veterinarian shows up, I'll just leave it there. There's more to come on that story. That's a break-in situation. And I think, in these situations, if something's been amiss, trainers try and deal with it, and, unless it's a life-threatening situation, I think the veterinarians will let you try and deal with it up until about now. Now we're 24 hours away, and now we have to really kind of hone in and see what's going on.
We're 24 hours from scratch time.
Yeah.
And let's also, to the industry, we have to give a lot of credit for what we've taken as far as precaution to that next level over the last several years. With HISA being implemented, the safety protocols for horses, we have never seen this much diligence in inspecting horses pre-race, not just at the Derby, but every race in every jurisdiction.
Yeah, I mean, this always got attention because it was on a national scale, but I think, to see how effective it's been, I think you have to look at the day-to-day bread and butter racing, and the incidence of injuries are down. I mean, catastrophic injuries occur, one in every, whatever it is, 1,000. I mean, they've made dramatic changes, a big difference, and we're seeing the results of that.
Yeah.
We are going to take a break, but when we return, we're talking about that 96 Derby, but who wants us to talk about it? Let's get these two talking about. Two Hall of Famers, 10 Derby wins between the two of them. Bob Baffert, D. Wayne Lukas. They'll start talking Grindstone and Cavalier when we return.
I'm gonna give her a 5.
5-star work.
I'm gonna give her 5.
Yeah.
I like that. Look at her.
For Rachel and Gabby.
Look at.
I mean, left-handed urging.
I love it.
Okay, so there's Joe's rating, a 5-star work.
Look, she went. She wants to.
Oh, she did a good job.
Yeah.
Oh, and the standout.
Wow. All right. Wow. We can only go down from here. So that was work number 1. Okay, here's Simon. All right, now here's worker number 2. Here he goes. He uncocks the stick, and then he's getting some dirt thrown at him for the kickback.
I think Hissa wants to see me.
Yeah. There. And then he pulls up lane.
Oh, that was great.
Okay, that was take 1.
Let's go to 1.
Let's try take 2 here. Let's see if he can get it going. So he didn't quite make 30 seconds this time. Let's take a look. Oh, we're just kind of looking around. He's catching his breath. Simon, what are you feeling right now, Simon? What's it like to be on the back of a horse like this?
Well, yeah, I mean, that was a lot. I ate a lot of dirt. One thing I learned is don't open your mouth when you're riding.
Yeah. Do I have to grade this? You know what? 2 stars. 2 stars. The effort was good. The effort was there. He looked like kind of a.
Here we go. Now we go. He's back in the work. He's back in the work. Crack number 1.
This is where what's the dirt? Did the dirt come already?
No.
No.
No, I don't know. It's like a 15-minute work here.
Yeah.
We've only had 24 hours to plan it.
Yeah.
Let's getting a breather there, Simon Bray.
You're going to see him. We'll get there by 10 o'clock.
I like the twirl, though, Simon.
Yeah.
That was sweet.
And now we go. Okay, now we get the real pro. Now we get the real pro. Let's take a look at this.
What about them elbows?
What about the elbows?
They're pointing out.
Okay, I ripped down the goggles.
I mean, those
this is
are
great.
I don't tease elbows.
Yeah, we're going to put this in the jocks room as an instructional video.
Mike, it looks like you're trying to ski down a mountain and you just ate it.
Yeah, I ate it all right.
Look at the reins. Look at the reins in his hand.
Oh my God.
Wow. 1? Do I get 1 star? Half a star?
I mean,
no stars?
A half? Can we do a half?
Yeah.
I'll give him 1. I'll be nice.
I get 1 star. 1 star work.
Oh, you should wear that hat like in public.
I think I just did. It was national television. Not good enough for you?
That was great.
I got a 1. All right, thanks, Joe. That was him who made us do that.
Oh man!
But don't we have the one? Well, anyway.
Nah.
We have the dirt.
The one with Simon getting dirt was the best.
Yeah, if only our viewers could have seen it.
Oh yeah, here's the goggle. Here's the goggle.
So here we go. Now this was the real work. Here we go. And here's the kickback.
Look.
There we go. Yeah. There's the kickback. It's a big field, the Kentucky Derby. He's got, and there's, you got to leave a pair on for the dirt, Scott. Simon, there we go. Now they were simulating real life action here.
Burnham Square, I bent his head in half when I was pushing.
Good job.
It looks like a hungover Lester Pickard.
I deserve.
You only lost your balance 4 times there. It wasn't bad.
I'm fully fine with you taking that from a 2 to a 0.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Well, you had to.
That was awful.
The effort was there, though, Simon. That's
Nicely done.
That's all that counts.
As my school teacher used to say, Simon, 10 out of 10 for effort, 1 out of 10 for achievement.
You can continue to watch the rest of this Breakfast at the Kentucky Derby show on YouTube, as we will continue on at FanDuel Racing is the handle for the YouTube channel. And that's going to do it for the terrestrial coverage. For everyone who made this show possible all week long, Joe, Kate, and Simon, Andy, Gabby, Scott, our director, Chad Noche, our producer, Ruben Mendez. Thank you for joining us, and enjoy the next 2 days, Oaks and Derby from Churchill Downs.
The 1996 Kentucky Derby was my first Kentucky Derby as a rookie reporter, but memorable for many reasons. The Upstart, new guy from the quarter horse business, a future Hall of Famer, Bob Baffert, was making his first Kentucky Derby appearance with Cavanier. The mainstay, former quarter horse guy, future Hall of Famer, Dwayne Lucas, was starting 5 horses in his 30th plus appearance in the Kentucky Derby. With those 5 horses, 2 were racing for his longtime patron, W.T. Young. Editor's note and grindstone. Almost 30 years later, we sat the 2 horsemen down to take a trip down memory lane and watched once again the magic ensue.
The old starting gate, Bob, where they had the split gate.
I came out of the 4.
Right here, you're looking pretty
1996 Derby, right here. I was just hoping to light the board. If I could hit the board, I was coming off that big win at Santa Anita. I was so thrilled. An Unbridled Song, remember all the hype, and then he had the foot problem, and it was crazy.
Well, the thing that was significant, we had 5 in there, and I don't say that boastfully, but we had 5 in there. And if I had to handicap them in the paddock when we were saddling up, I would have thought Grindstone was the least likely to win.
About this time, I think I was laying, I had Chris McCarron, and I remember I was sitting, the box that I had was way before the wire, and I had this tiny little television. I think I was probably 100 yards. I was probably at the 16th pole. First time to the Derby, so my seats weren't the best. Sort of a long shot. There's Unbridled Song. He's just cruising on the outside.
Yeah, that's one of mine there. Yana Guskic, I think, in second.
And right here, I'm thinking, oh, that Unbridled Song, he is going to go on with it. And then all of a sudden I see my horse. There's Cavanier with I call it the bumblebee colors, the yellow and black.
That's him?
Yeah, he's making a move.
Where are we?
You're not even in the picture yet. So then right here, he got hit over the nose. I didn't know that till afterward. Over the head. That could have been the difference. That whip. So you got a little assist there from the other rider. And then all of a sudden, I see Unbridled Song, and then I see Cavanier. And when he took the lead there, I can't remember anything. I couldn't believe, I wasn't prepared for that. And then I saw a white bridle coming. I thought, oh my God, I know it's a good one. It's Lucas. And I still think I won.
I thought you won.
And I thought I won, but because my seats were so bad, and I was watching on this small, and I kept turning around.
Yeah,
And I asked every stranger in every box, what do you think? Oh, you got it, Bob. You got it, Bob. And then the owner turned around and she says, I think we ran second.
You know what happened? The same thing happened when I started to walk down to get to the horses. It was about 50-50. About half of them said, boy, great going, Wayne, nice win. And the other guys were saying, no, you were second. Too bad you lost at the heartbreak. But I was standing, as I showed on the video here, with Bill Young. It was one of the few times I watched the race close up to the owner. And you can tell by our expressions that we weren't sure.
I wasn't sure either, and I stayed in the box. I didn't move. I was in the box waiting and waiting, and I was watching the cameras, and I wanted to see, like, Chris McCarron. I was hoping when he pulled up, I was hoping for him to
pumping,
like pumping.
No
Pumping. There was no excitement, so I said, I don't like that. He's not excited, and this and that, and they were so far. He was so far away, and I'm thinking, I think I won.
Neither rider could tell. We were too far away for one thing, and like you say, Jerry Bailey wasn't pumping his fist in the air either. Nothing. It was way too close to call.
So then I was thinking, what if he got beat? This is horrible if I got beat. And I'll never be back. This would be my only chance.
You didn't realize at that point you were going to be the face of the Kentucky Derby, period.
No, I just thought this is it. And then as soon as they put that number up, I was like, just heartbroken. So I'm walking down there, and I'll never forget. I'm walking down the stairs, and here comes W.T. Young. Bill Young's walking down, and I said, Mr. Young, congratulations on Bob Baffert. And I was in a fraternity, SAE fraternity, and I read that he was in SAE fraternity, and he'd put a lot of money in to rebuild it. And when I shook his hand, and I gave him the magic, the secret handshake. And when I did that, then he looked up at me like, and I went, Phi Alpha, and he goes, hey, you know, like, and then he was telling me that he didn't leave his seat because was it Stormcat? He thought he won the Breeders' Cup.
No, he thought he won the Young American, and he ran all the way down there when they ran that race.
And he thought he'd won, and he'd walk down there, and when he got down there, it was so embarrassing that he got beat. So then he said to himself, I'll never do that again. I'm going to wait for the number.
That's exactly what he told me in the box. He said, you go down there, but I'm not moving until the number comes up.
Well, we came down together, and he was so happy. I'll never forget on the staircase we were going down there, and I get down there to, I don't know why I went down there. Chris McCarron, he was like, he looked like he just swallowed a marble, and then it was just, you know, the excitement. But like I said, if you would have won by a length, then I would have been so thrilled running second. But when you
you know what you got to admit, Bob, there's 2 quarter horse guys going against the establishment here. There was no, we were complete outsiders, you and me, and
at the time we weren't like best of friends or buddy, but we were just fierce competitors, and we were going at it, and so and when they put that number up, I'll never forget. And to me, to this day, and I jinxed myself afterwards. I said, somebody asked me afterwards, what did you get out of this? I said, I know what it feels like to win the Kentucky Derby for 3 minutes. I felt it. I know what it felt like. But then later on, I told everybody, well, at least I think I got the worst beat of my life out of the way. It'll be the worst beat. And then the next year, Triple Crown, I get beat the same way.
Well, how many years later did you win it? You got to win it.
It was after Silver Charm, 2 years later.
Oh, yeah.
And I remember when Real Quiet, you were sitting in front of me. I said, Wayne, what do you think? You got it. And so I thought, well, Wayne says, I got it, and everything. And then they put that photo up. So the Derby it's been you know, it's been cruel, and it's been great. You know, it's just one of those things where it's, you know, and when you see a white bridle coming, you just know. And I saw a horse coming. Somebody said, there's a horse coming down. And I look up and I go, oh, it's a white bridle. It's a good one. It's a good one. It's Wayne's, one of Wayne's.
You know what? Jerry Bailey said afterwards, he got a lot of credit. The press got into it and said, boy, what a ride you put on and everything. And Jerry told me later, he said, I was 15th. And he said, I looked up and Pat Day is right in front of me. And he's going inside, so I went inside. He goes outside around 2 horses, I go outside. He said, I followed Pat Day all the way through till about the 8th pole. And then I realized I was out there all by myself with a chance to win it, and I went to wailing and pumping on him. But he said, I just followed Pat Day the whole race. Give Pat Day the credit.
I wish he hadn't followed Pat Day.
That's for sure.
You know, it's amazing to think that almost 30 years later, both men still remain the faces of the Triple Crown, and particularly the Kentucky Derby. But back then, they were not necessarily the closest of friends. In fact, they were definitely more rivals, pretty fierce competitors against one another. All this time later, both with horses and interest in the upcoming 151st Kentucky Derby, they are definitely still rivals and competitors, but definitely more respecting friends who admire the body of work both have accomplished along the way. And one side note, D. Wayne Lukas still on his pony every morning, accompanying his Derby charge out to the racetrack, who right now is walking around the shed row looking as good as ever, has been holding court with the press. Both guys command an audience wherever they go. A big group of people still hanging around the barn just to get a glimpse of D. Wayne Lukas, perhaps get his autograph. Kids have stopped by to get their picture taken with him. He gave out a baseball card signed a little earlier today. Also earlier today, Steve Kornacki Kornacki requested an interview for network coverage coming up this weekend. Wayne asked him to come at 4 o'clock this morning when Wayne gets to the barn. Steve Kornacki complied, and the interview was completed. I asked Wayne how everything went, and he said, with a smile, "Good, very good. Steve Kornacki, he did all right." Typical Wayne.
Believe me, he asked him to come at 4 a.m. just to mess with him.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
That's all that was.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah. But he changed the game, Wayne Lucas, right?
He absolutely, in my estimation, I know people will take umbrage with this, but I feel like Wayne Lucas is the greatest trainer ever. And people will, quibble about, well, Charlie Whittingham, Steve Asmussen, Bob Baffert, etc. To me, though, what he did to racing in the 80s and 90s, right? His whole attitude, you show me a millionaire in the stands, I'll show you a horse owner. The way that he brought racing to all these new owners, the way he brought so many horses, a mega super stable in multiple jurisdictions, the help he had along the way, the trainers he trained, right? Some of his best training jobs are Todd Pletcher, right? I mean, like, that's not the horses, but the people. To me, there's just no bigger figure that's had a greater impact on the sport in my lifetime than Wayne Lucas.
Yeah, I mean, if social media was around in his day, I mean, he would have been, 15 million followers, because he was the first trainer that really embraced the media. He's showing up in the afternoon in custom $1,500 Italian suits. People didn't do that. They were grumpy old horse trainers in khakis. And he was a guy that embraced the media. He was out front. He liked to be in the spotlight, and he did that for a long, long time. And he's still holding court right now at 4 a.m. this morning.
Joe, a couple of quarter horse guys there, just so you know.
I love it.
Love every second of it. Right now, we're going to check in with Scott Hazelton.
Brad, Tapan Street surgery on Sunday. How did things go?
Really good. He's back at WinStar. I got a good video of him yesterday in the stall. He looks great, and 60 days off, and resume light training there at WinStar. Elliott Walden's team obviously do a great job of getting horses back, and he'll look forward to getting back maybe late summer, early fall.
That's a pretty quick turnaround, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying that's when he'd race, obviously, but maybe he'll obviously get some work done over there. But looking forward to him returning to racing, and he should be as good as new.
Beginning of the year type of races, is that kind of
maybe? I just you got to let him come along at their own pace. He's a big, heavy colt, big, strong horse, and it may take a little while to get him in shape, but excited about what lies ahead for him.
Appreciate the update, Brad.
Thanks, Scott.
Thank you.
It's positive news on Tapan Street. He was certainly one of the main contenders here in this Kentucky Derby, winning the Florida Derby. But look, a condylar fracture is what it is, but a successful surgery, and hopefully we'll see him race again.
Yeah, it just depends on the severity, and this was an easy one. On a scale of 1 to 5, it sounds like, without seeing the x-rays and knowing, but reading all the reports, this was a 1. So it's basically, a hairline fracture in the condyle, the end of the what would be the shin bone, basically in human terms, and hairline fracture. They put a couple of screws in, forced compression, it heals. He'll be good to go. And, sometimes in hindsight, I know it's so hard and nobody wishes that injury, but, you let the Triple Crown play out. There's a sense of attrition sometimes with horses that have to take time off. He could come back as a fresh late 3-year-old, early 4-year-old.
Right, and he's still in the game. He's got Final Gambit. It's a long shot on the outside looking in, Joe, but he has a shot.
And that was a breakout win last time. Again, I think the only question mark, he's raced on turf and then synthetic, but the manner at which he won the Jeff Ruby Stakes, if he does that on dirt, he could definitely be a closing presence on Saturday.
Andy?
We've got to give the people what they want, so obviously had to get back with Burnham Square's exercise rider, Mark Cutler. Mark, I just want to go over the equipment that Burnham Square uses in the morning. This is his bridle.
Yes, very basic, just an egg butt snaffle. As you can see here, the end of the snaffle here is kind of shaped like the end of an egg. Gets a little thinner towards the middle. Kind of very basic bit, very comfortable for a lot of horses. And it's primarily the only bit that we use.
Yeah, I've noticed a lot of Ian's horses kind of just very minimalistic. You don't see a lot of ring bits here, a lot of nose bands. Is that just kind of Ian's style?
It is, and I think it works really well. I mean, I think 90% of them are just fine with this. The ring bit is great when maybe you have some steering issues, but other than that, a ring bit's just not necessary.
Will Burnham Square wear a tongue tie?
He will, yes, he will when he runs, not during training though.
Is there a reason why he wears it while he's racing versus while he's training?
You want their tongue getting back in their mouth and restricting their airflow. So that's pretty much the reason.
So when he's just galloping regularly, he won't necessarily displace, versus when he's going faster, obviously we don't want that tongue to push back.
No, and when you see him like that with his head all tucked up, and I've been asked about it, doesn't that restrict his air? But it doesn't. I don't hear anything. It's like you don't hear him breathing at all. so which is nice.
When you're galloping him, do you like to grab your yoke or anything, or you just kind of keep it crossed?
Yeah, that's just for the in-between. You know, the going to the track and then the coming home, just in case something happens, he jumps too quick. You don't want to be getting into their mouth. Once I start to gallop, I turn the yoke loose because that can kind of interfere. You'll see some guys, they hold on to it and they're pulling it up in their armpit. I don't like to do that.
Right on. So very plain Jane for Burnham Square. Just a nice egg butt, loose ring snaffle. Race day will be the same, but he will be wearing a tongue tie.
Yes. Yes, he will, and hopefully he'll win.
Thank you, Mark. Great job.
Thank you very much.
Back to you guys.
He's been the other star of the show, Mark Cutler, without a doubt.
Oh, Mark's such a great guy. I've known him for quite a few years, riding for Ian Wilkes over the years. I mean, you could just see in the interviews. I mean, he's just so cool, calm, collective. He's been galloping for so many years. And again, Burnham Square, as you could see on video, he's not an easy horse to gallop. There's really not too many guys that can get him to bow his head like that and go at a slow pace the way that Mark does.
One more recap of what we've seen this week. We've seen Journalism as the star, Sovereignty, Burnham Square. We've seen a little bit of everything, but my work of the week, and we're going to show you the behind-the-scenes footage of it, was undoubtedly Simon Bray. And it wasn't just because of the way and his style and form, but how he handled the adversity of the kickback, how he handled all of this as we take a look. And here we go.
Okay.
Get set.
Let me get started here.
Okay, get up,
okay.
And go. Okay. I was getting a little enthusiastic while throwing dirt at you, Simon.
Oh, I mean, look how well balanced. I mean, that is a train wreck.
And it's a British style of riding, too. Kind of high on the withers there. Pretty good.
Look at this guy.
I needed someone to help me put my foot
in the stirrups.
A little lower.
Oh my! I don't know about my diet. I might need to work in a salad here and there. I thought I actually did pretty well, Joe. You guys make fun. It started out okay.
I don't know. It's pretty bad, Mike.
Come on, man. Come on. Throw me a bone here.
It's the reins that get me. When you do the cross, they're in one hand.
That was the best part, just holding the reins like that. Oh.
What am I supposed to do? You guys didn't get any instruction here.
He's like, what do I do?
Yeah. I'm pretty impressed that I could just stand.
Oh, that was great. I just want to say, guys, this has been an unbelievably fun week. I had a lot of fun with you guys. Even though you've made fun of me the whole time and I didn't say anything to you back, it's been a lot of fun.
Well, Joe, you're a great guy. You're a good guy. This guy is just like this off camera as he is on camera. And a lot of the responses we've had, if you go to our YouTube channel, you see them all. It's all about Joe. You brought a lot to the show, and we appreciate it. It's been great working with you.
Well, thanks for having me.
I have to say, it's been a great show all week, despite the fact that Joe was here. Simon, you were magnificent, though.
Unsafe.
The show has been made by our reporters, though. There's no doubt about it, with Gabby and Andy and Caton and Scott and Caleb Keller. Caleb with the beautiful Mind Puka stuff the other day was fantastic. Let's take a look at the current odds of the Kentucky Derby. Wagering is open. More than $500,000 in that win pool already. These odds are subject to change in the next 48 hours, as they are wont to do in pari-mutuel wagering. But Journalism, the star of the show, morning line favorite, still favored, as we will keep our eyes on all the goings-on.
Real quick, Mike, we got to keep our eye on social media and maybe on FanDuel TV this afternoon. That story with Owen Almighty, that's a big story with Baeza potentially maybe getting in.
Yeah, we could have an opportunity to see Baeza in the body of the field, and if he makes it in, that's going to be my top selection. Without him, I'm going with the oh-so-talented Sovereignty. We got a little behind-the-scenes look as we say goodbye. The meta glasses were all over the track. It wasn't just Mark Cutler wearing them. It was all of us. And we hope you enjoyed our breakfast at the Kentucky Derby. All the shows are available on our YouTube channel at FanDuel Racing, as are a lot of the great moments here and a lot of the action. There's Anna James, Joe Chili, our esteemed crew. It's the back of Scott Hazelton's head. There's a profile of my fat face. That's Ruben, our producer. Caleb Keller, Joe Talamo. Yeah, he's still here. There's Simon Bray. Oh, that was Caleb's mom. Bye, Mom. Those are my ankle socks you see there. I was wearing it warming up for the show. This is the drive-in with Andy Biancone in her Toyota 4Runner. Lots of action in the mornings here. If you want to see more behind the scenes, go to YouTube at FanDuel Racing. All the episodes available. We'll have live racing today from Churchill Downs, as it is Derby. And then, of course, Oaks and Derby coverage between us and NBC. Thank you for joining us here, and we hope you enjoyed our breakfast at the Kentucky Derby.